Although not recognized as such, at the time of its discovery, Compsognathus was the first theropod dinosaur known from a complete fossil skeleton. Until the 1990s, it was the smallest known non-avialan dinosaur, with the preceding centuries incorrectly labeling them as the closest relative of Archaeopteryx. This small dinosaur is known only from two fossils, one from France and a much smaller individual from southern Germany. The German discovery changed how society thought about dinosaurs by showing that dinosaurs could also be small and not giants like the previously discovered dinosaurs. Compsognathus lived in the late Jurassic period, roughly 150 million years ago, in present-day Europe. Despite its small size, this bipedal dinosaur was a predator. This is suggested by its mouthful of sharp teeth and slender frame. This dinosaur's closest relatives, such as Sinosauropteryx, have fuzzy protofeathers, so Compsognathus could have probably had them as well, although none have yet been found on the specimens. In the Jurassic Park franchise, they are little voracious predators that stand about a foot high and possess a venomous bite, although there is no fossil evidence to suggest that Compsognathus possessed such a bite. They are referred to as Compys, which is short for their scientific name. They play an important role in both the novel Jurassic Park, where readers first hear about them attacking infants in Costa Rica, and later in the film The Lost World Jurassic Park. Compys will continue to make appearances in the following films, but with very small cameos and roles. If you'd like to keep learning more about this little dinosaur, then this video will feature a complete paleontological profile of the elegant jaw, and an attempt to recreate its environment in the game Jurassic World Evolution 2. Compsognathus was a small, slenderly built, ground-dwelling bipedal carnivore that could grow to around the size of a turkey. Many presentations still describe Compsognathus as chicken-sized dinosaurs because of the size of its initially discovered specimen, which is now known to be a juvenile. These tiny dinosaurs lived about 161 to 145 million years ago during the late Jurassic period in what is now Europe. Compsognathus is one of the few dinosaur species whose diet is known with certainty. The remains of small, agile lizards are preserved in their stomach fossils. One of these fossils was found in Germany in the 1850s, and the second in France more than a century later. Today, Compsognathus longipes is the only recognized species name, although the larger French specimen was once thought to belong to a separate species named Compsognathus coralestris. At the time of its discovery, Compsognathus was the smallest dinosaur known to the still new science of paleontology, resulting in the frequent comparison of Compsognathus being the size of a chicken. However, Compsognathus no longer carries the title of smallest dinosaur, as the discovery of maniraptoran dinosaurs like Microraptor have shown that dinosaurs are capable of being even smaller, and further discoveries are likely to reduce the size even further. For now, the German Compsognathus specimen is estimated to be 2.5 feet long and weighing up to 1.3 pounds, while the larger French specimen is estimated at 4 foot 7 inches long and weighing up to 7.7 pounds. Compared to other Compsognathids, the larger French specimen would have been similar in size to larger Sinosauropteryx specimens, but smaller than other like Compsognathus and Mauritia. Like these other specimens, Compsognathus had very long hind legs and a long tail, which they used for balance during locomotion. The feet of Compsognathus were also digitigrade, meaning that it essentially balanced on its toes rather than the flat of its foot. This also meant that the main foot bone served to extend the length of the leg and increase the striding length even further. It would also explain the very long tail of Compsognathus, which would have been held off the ground and very useful as a versatile balancing aid when chasing after prey. Their forelimbs were also smaller than their hind limbs. The hand bore 2 large clawed digits and a third smaller digit that may have been non-functional. Most early reconstructions of Compsognathus show it to have 2 fingers. However, these are based upon a product of incomplete preservation. This third finger, like many other theropod dinosaurs, is something that is becoming increasingly well known, and accurate reconstructions showing Compsognathus having 3 fingers exist now. Compsognathus also had delicate skulls that were narrow and long, with tapered snouts. The skull had 5 pairs of fenestrae, the largest of which was for the orbit, with the eyes being larger in proportion to the rest of the skull. The lower jaw was slender and had no mandibular fenestra, a hole in the side of the lower jawbone commonly seen in archosaurs. The teeth were small and pointed, suited for its diet of small vertebrates and possibly other small animals such as insects. Despite its small size, Compsognathus is one of the dinosaurs that are best known to science. Not only was the skeleton well preserved, but the remains of his last meal, a small lizard named Bavarisaurus, were also found inside the specimen, proving without a doubt that Compsognathus was a carnivore. This, in turn, led to the conclusion that Compsognathus must have had sharp vision and the ability to rapidly accelerate and outrun the lizards of the time. The German specimen had a lizard in its stomach that was still intact, indicating that the Compsognathus must have swallowed its prey whole. Also, the gastric contents of the French specimen showed that it consisted of a number of unidentified lizards. Also, well-preserved fossils of the related Sinosauropteryx showed that small mammals may have also formed part of the diet of Compsognathus. In Compsognathus, the frontmost of the upper and lower jaws were unserrated, while those further back had fine serrations on their rear edges. This would give Compsognathus a chance to work its head into the undergrowth and pull out prey that was using it for cover. All of this evidence showed that Compsognathus was well adapted to the catching of small and fast-moving prey that would have scurried into the undergrowth as soon as they were seen. As mentioned earlier, some relatives of Compsognathus, namely Sinosauropteryx and Sinocalliopteryx, have been preserved with the remains of simple feathers covering the body like fur, prompting some scientists to suggest that Compsognathus may have been feathered in a similar way. As a result, many depictions of Compsognathus show them with coverings of downy protofeathers. However, no feathers or feather-like covering have been preserved with Compsognathus fossils. Additional discoveries of Compsognathus and its relatives will be needed to determine whether Compsognathus did indeed have feathers, and other things that are yet to be discovered. Compsognathus is known from two almost complete skeletons. The German specimen stemmed from limestone deposits in Bavaria, Germany, and was part of the collection of the fossil collector Joseph Ovendorfer. Ovendorfer lent the specimen to paleontologist Johann A. Wagner, who published a brief discussion in 1859 where he coined the name Compsognathus longpipes. Wagner did not recognize Compsognathus as a dinosaur, but instead described it as one of the most curious forms among the lizards. In 1866, Ovendorfer's collection, including the Compsognathus specimen, was acquired by the Paleontological State Collection in Munich, Germany. Both the year of discovery and the exact locality of the German specimen are unknown, possibly because Ovendorfer did not reveal details of the discovery to prevent other collectors from exploiting the locality. However, feathering up the slab on which the Compsognathus fossil is preserved indicated that it was collected from a pile of waste rock left behind by quarrying. All possible localities are part of lagunal deposits of the Paintin Formation. In the Jurassic period, the region was part of the Solnhofen archipelago. The limestone of the area has been quarried for centuries and yielded such well-preserved fossils as Archaeopteryx with feather impressions and pterosaurs with imprints of their wing membranes. In two publications in 1868 and 1870, English anthropologist Thomas Huxley, a major proponent of Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, compared Compsognathus with Archaeopteryx, which was considered the earliest known bird. Following earlier suggestions by German anatomist Carl Gegenbaugh and American paleontologist Edward Drinker Cope, Huxley found that Archaeopteryx was closely similar to Compsognathus and referred to the latter as a bird-like reptile. He then concluded that birds must have evolved from dinosaurs, an assessment that established Compsognathus as one of the most widely known dinosaurs. The specimen has since been studied by many prominent paleontologists, including American paleontologist Othniel Charles Marsh, who visited Munich in 1881. The German paleontologist J.G. Bauer, who worked as an assistant of Marsh, removed the right ankle from the slab for illustration and study. Unfortunately, this removed part got lost and has not been found since. Although Bauer published a detailed study of the ankle in 1882, which is now the only available source of information of this part of the skeleton, his reconstruction was later found to be inconsistent with corresponding impressions on the slab. The larger French specimen was discovered in and around 1971 in a limestone quarry near the town of Nice, France. American paleontologist John Ostrom, who had described the German specimen, went ahead and described the newly discovered French specimen in 1978. The French specimen was originally part of a large private fossil collection of Louis Gerardi, the owner of the limestone quarries. The collection, including the Compsognathus specimen, was sold to the National Museum of Natural History in Paris in 1983. Paleontologists Alain Bedard and Gerard Thamel, in a brief 1972 description, announced a new find under a separate species, Compsognathus coralestris. According to these authors, the new species differ from the German species in its larger size and modified flipper-like hand. It has since been relabeled by many paleontologists as just another example of Compsognathus longpipes. In 1984, American paleontologist George Callison and Helen Quimby identified a smaller German specimen as a juvenile of the same species. In 1998, professor in paleobiology Jen Zink assigned 49 isolated teeth from the Guimarães coal mine of Portugal to the genus. However, Zink found that these teeth were not identical to those of Compsognathus longpipes, having serrations on the front edge, and thus labeled the teeth as Compsognathus sp, or unknown species. Most recently, in 2007, British researchers William Sellers and Philip Manning estimated a maximum speed of 40 miles per hour based on a computer model of the skeleton and muscles. However, this estimate has been criticized by many other paleontologists. Compsognathus is one of those dinosaurs that is unique due to its small size and history. However, since there are only 2 known fossils and the bones are not perfectly preserved, it is going to take more discoveries to know more about this tiny theropod. During the late Jurassic, Europe was a dry tropical archipelago at the edge of the Tethys Sea. The fine limestone in which the skeletons of Compsognathus have been found originated in calcite from the shells of marine organisms. Both the German and French areas where Compsognathus specimens have been preserved consisted of lagoons situated between the beaches and coral reefs of the Jurassic European islands. The same sediments in which Compsognathus have been preserved also contain fossils of a number of marine animals such as pterosaurs, fish, crustaceans, and marine mollusks, confirming the coastal habitat of this theropod. For now, very few dinosaurs have been found in association with Compsognathus, indicating that these little dinosaurs might in fact have been the top land predator in these islands. Due to this, some paleontologists like Bidar, in his 1972 description of the French specimen, argue that this specimen had webbed hands which would look like flippers in life. This interpretation was based on a supposed impression of the flipper that consists of several wavy wrinkles running parallel to the forelimb on the surface of the slab. In a 1975 popular book, British paleontologist L. Beverly Halstead depicted the animal as an amphibious dinosaur capable of feeding on aquatic prey and swimming out of reach of larger predators. However, American paleontologist John H. Ostrom debunked this hypothesis, noting that the forelimb of the French specimen was poorly preserved, and that the wrinkles extend well beyond the skeleton and thus were likely sedimentary structures unrelated to the fossil. Global climates were warm and humid during the Jurassic period, with temperatures up to 86 degrees until the Middle Jurassic. The major group of plants that flourished during Jurassic were very similar to those of the late Triassic. The warm, wet Jurassic climate was ideal for ferns, which thrived in the shady forest. Palms like cycads were common in the Jurassic forest that were eaten by many herbivorous dinosaurs. Ginkgos were widespread throughout the Jurassic period, as demonstrated by their fossils preserving their fan-shaped leaves. Moreover, the Jurassic landscape was dominated by tall conifer trees that have cones instead of flowers, and were very prominent in many of the paintings that seek to reconstruct dinosaur times. It seems that Compsognathus went extinct around the late Jurassic to early Cretaceous period. This period represents a time of environmental upheaval and cataclysmic events, combined with disruptions to marine ecosystems. Unfortunately, Compsognathus and many other dinosaurs were unable to adapt to the fast-changing world. The Middle and Late Jurassic periods are often referred to as the Age of the Dinosaur Giants. This fitting description pays homage to the evolution of several remarkable group of colossal dinosaurs, which dominated terrestrial ecosystems across the planet. Despite its small status, Compsognathus flourished during this Age of the Dinosaur Giants in Central Europe, where its known habitat consisted of a tropical archipelago that bordered the prehistoric Tethys Sea. The sea inundated much of Europe, turning the continent into these island chains. Due to this, giant dinosaurs could not have survived on these islands, given the limited food supply. Compsognathus lived alongside with other fairly small European Jurassic dinosaurs like the Europasaurus, a small sauropod that grew only to 20 feet as an adult. There was also Australopithecus, a 15-foot megalosauridae species, which became an example of insular dwarfism, forced to be small in order to survive. But while Europasaurus and Eustrepondylus lived at the same time and locality as Compsognathus, it is still unsure if they share the same habitat or cross paths. Turkey size when fully grown, the only other known dinosaur from the same time and place is a crow-sized Archaeopteryx, with well-known pterosaurs like the 6-foot-long Rhamphorhynchus and the 3-foot-long Pterodactylus being common sites. Lastly, a recent discovery in Germany uncovered the Ceramimus, a small megalosaurid that was about the same size as Compsognathus. However, more evidence is needed to pinpoint exactly the habitat in which Ceramimus lived and if it overlapped with that of Compsognathus. Compies are one of the more popular dinosaurs in the Jurassic Park franchise due to their small size that makes them seem harmless. These dinosaurs have appeared in the Jurassic Park movies beginning with The Lost World Jurassic Park and followed by Jurassic Park 3, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, and finally Dominion. They also happen to make an appearance in the Netflix series Camp Cretaceous. Additionally, in the Jurassic Park novel, Compies are responsible for the killing of Dr. Hammond. Compies were created by InGen inside their compound on Isla Sorna. They were originally green in color, having multiple shades with dark striping across their back, and some also seem to have shades of red and blue as well, and some even had yellow underbellies. Like all of InGen's cloned theropods, Compsognathus had pronated wrists and lacked feathers. It was slightly larger than the originals, being 5 feet in length instead of 4.2. But these cloned Compies would use a unique way of pack hunting to kill prey larger than them. A Compy pack would send a scout to confront the potential prey, and while the intended target interacted with the scout, the rest of the pack rushed in and overwhelmed their victim. Compies were not planned at all for Jurassic Park on Isla Nublar, but after the 1993 incident, InGen reported that there was a population of about 28 individuals on the island. It was suggested that they managed to reach the island by hiding on InGen cargo vessels between Nublar and Site B. In The Lost World Jurassic Park, the very first scene of the movie shows a wealthy British family coming across Isla Sorna on their vacation. There, the daughter of the couple encountered a Compy scout on one of the island beaches. She liked the small dinosaur and fed it some food, but to her and her family's horror, the rest of the pack emerged from the nearby forest to attack her. Luckily, she survived the attack, but after this dinosaur attack, the InGen board of directors decided to oust John Hammond as CEO and replace him with his nephew, Peter Ludlow. The Compies are then seen again when Dr. Robert Berkey, who was based on famous paleontologist Robert T. Backer, identified the species as Compsognathus triassicus, combining the genus name of Compsognathus longpipe with the specific name of Compsognathus triassicus, a distantly related small carnivore feature in the Jurassic Park novels. InGen hunters captured several Compsognathus, and 2 of them were showcased by Peter Ludlow during his transmission to the board of his company. Afterwards, during the hunter's capture of the dinosaurs on the game trail, hunter Dieter Stark encountered a Compy whom he attacked with his taser for the fun of it. However, when Dieter Stark went to urinate in the woods of Isla Sorna after the skirmish at the InGen Harvester encampment, he encountered another Compy. He proceeded to tase it like he had done the previous one he encountered before. However, this time the individual turned out to be a scout, and its pack pursued Dieter, who had lost his sense of direction while frantically trying to escape. The Compies attacked once Dieter tripped on a slope, losing his weapon in the process. Dieter managed to survive the attack and scare the pack away once he had removed him from his body. But the pack soon returned to attack him, and this time they managed to kill him off-screen. Dieter Stark's death at the hand of a Compsognathus swarm in The Lost World was based on John Hammond's death, in which a pack of Compies kills him while he is injured in the chapter Hammond 2 of the Jurassic Park novel. Compies also managed to make a brief appearance in Jurassic Park 3. During the scene when Dr. Alan Grant took shelter in the truck that Eric Kirby was living in, a pack of Compies are seen by the truck and are shown feeding on some insects. Eric goes on to explain to Dr. Grant how he used T-Rex urine to repel the tiny dinosaurs. Years later, Compies were exhibited at Jurassic World, where like all other dinosaurs, they became wild again following the 2015 Jurassic World incident. But all of this happened off-screen, so the Compies did not make a visual appearance. However, in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, with the eruption of Mount Sibo imminent, many Compies were rescued from Nublar and taken to the Lockwood Manor in California, where they and other dinosaurs later escaped into the wild. The Compies also managed to make a couple of brief cameo appearances in Jurassic World Dominion. At least 5 Compies can be seen in a cage at the Amber Clave Night Market in Malta. Later, as Rain Delacourt tries to escape Owen Grady, he knocks over the cage, allowing the Compies to escape and jump into Owen. Luckily, Owen manages to remove most of them from his body and continues to pursue Delacourt. Compies appear once again in the final scenes of the movie, when it is explained that dinosaurs are now roaming free around the globe. The Compies make a brief cameo in the short chasing a little girl during the end credits. And because of the international black market and the Compies' proclivity for stowing away on ships, they have appeared around the world. In 2022, the Department of Prehistoric Wildlife confirmed sightings of Compy packs. In France, a pack of Compies nesting near power stations were blamed for causing power outages. In the Netherlands, a tourist managed to get into a staring contest with a lone Compy. Meanwhile, in Italy, a person who got too close to a pack of Compies ended up losing their iPhone to the tiny predator. In the Western Hemisphere, Compies are also spotted in locations such as Oregon, when a local discovered that a trap designed to catch pests could also catch a rather angry Compy. In another incident, mistaking Compies for harmless lizards, a local family in Wyoming captured a video that could have ended very differently. Hey guys, welcome back to the park, and as you can see here, I've sectioned off a little part of the park for the Compsognathus Enclosure. We're going to try to recreate the archipelago setting that they had during their time during Jurassic period in Europe. So first things off, let's go ahead and work with our topography. So let's go ahead and do sand, and then that way you're able to see the Compsognathus for the most part, since they're really tiny. They're going to be, for the most part, kind of hard to spot, so we'll make this in a color that will make it easier for us to spot the Compsognathus. But at the same time, we don't want it to look too uniform, so let's go ahead and just do this real quickly. Let's add in some rock. Every now and then, it's an archipelago, so we're going to add some water right now. But for now, we kind of want to get the texture in, and if you heard that, that was probably my cat. Some dark rock, not too much, very tiny, just because we don't want it to take over too much. So I think that's good. So let's work with our water here. So let's go ahead and add, little lakes here and there. It's an archipelago setting, so we're gonna go as small as we can go, sort of like this. We'll try not add too many because then the Compsognathus will get lost in there, and then you won't be able to see them. But we'll add a couple of more. We're gonna cut off some of these guys. There we go. Let's keep the river though. Let's actually make it bigger. Not too big. That's actually pretty good. But yeah, just play around with this until you're satisfied with the amount of little lakes that you have here that are part of the archipelago setting of Compsognathus. Let's actually add one right here. There we go. Just want to be able to split these two. It's not letting me. There we go. So we'll do one more here if it's possible. There we go. I wish I could just split that into halves, but it looks like I can't. But look, I just made myself a smaller circle. And I usually make this tiny bit smaller. There we go. And then we'll add another lake right here. There we go. That looks pretty good. After that, let's go ahead and work with our nature, our foliage. So as the time of the Jurassic period, we're gonna deal mostly with conifers, cycads, ferns, and ginkgos. So those are the options that you have here. We're not gonna add too many because we don't want them to block the Compsognathus. So we'll add some forest over this part of the water. We want to make the sea like this is part of the sea, so let's actually make this, well, we can actually get more water here actually, but we'll pretend this is the sea. So we'll add those trees right here, as well as right here to block the other enclosure. So these will be it. Aside from that, we're going to work with our cycads, throw in a little bit here what this is actually, it's going to be work. And like I said, not too many because we don't want them to overshadow the little Compsognathus, so we'll add a couple of ginkgos here. Not too many, that's actually, I think that's okay. And then just finish it off with some ferns here. So we can go ahead and use the Temskia. I should use the Temskia. And just sprinkle a couple of them here and there. Aside from that, let's work with the rocks, and with our rocks, let's actually put one right here to get this big pole out of the way. A nice cool tip that you guys have there. Aside from that, let's go ahead and add one big one here and two more down here. I like to group them as such, but you know, you can do whatever you want. You can go ahead and switch the color of the rocks, but you know, I think this is going to be it. So you guys let me know what you guys think. This is going to be our little Compsognathus enclosure, and actually to kill it off, we are going to need to put their little feeder. So let's put them right here in front of the viewing area. And actually let's add a goat. And the goat, let's see if we can fit it over here where like nothing's around, but looks like we can't. So looks like we're gonna add it there. And just to help block it, we'll add a rock here in the background. But yeah, I'll go ahead and add a couple of highlights with the Compsognathus, and this is how it's going to look like. You guys let me know what you guys think. While tiny, Compsognathus has had an enormous influence in the paleontological field as well as in popular culture. With a lightweight and slim frame, this dinosaur will use its superior numbers to take down its prey, making Compsognathus a beautiful but deadly addition to your Jurassic Park. Thank you all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.